So this is my 2016 Transit 350 XLT. Recently went on a trip and cleverly backed up into a curb, probably doing about 5 miles an hour, and ended up bending the bumper up bad enough that we can't even open the back door. If you look here, a couple clever things that Ford did. One is they put such a weak, wimpy bumper that 5 miles an hour, roughly, bent this up bad enough that there is no way that you can open the back door because it does this. The other clever thing that they did is the way that this bolts on is 4 bolts here, and obviously the same thing on the other side. And then there's this heat shield here, and there's these 2 bolts. And then guess what's on the other side? That's right, the spare tire. So there is, because of the length of these bolts, you have to lower the spare tire just to get this bumper off. The other fun thing that they do is they keep on changing their part number on you. So heaven help you trying to find the right part number. And every dealer that you go to has a different price. How different? Well, anywhere from $575 for a piece of sheet metal to $675. Or you can go to a junkyard, which I've found that are hard to find unless you go up north, and they'll give you a bumper, a used bumper, for the bargain deal of, hey, I got one guy talked down to $525 for the piece of metal used. All right, so we're going to see whether we can record me doing this, and if it turns out, well, then we'll show it to you. Okay, so I came into the next piece of clever Ford designing that is giving me an issue, and that is, if you remember those 4 bolts that are by the spare tire, I can't get those off with my impact wrench or my breaker bar so far. I don't know why they would put them on so tight, being it's holding up a piece of flimsy sheet metal that can't even hold up to 5 miles an hour. So we got to deal with that genius design. I think I'll try some PV blaster or something to try and see whether I can loosen them up. Okay, so somebody observant would notice by the length of the shadows that it's been a while since I did the last video. And the reason for that is this. So we had these bolts so tight that they would not come out. Okay, so I've got one left busted off in here. Now here's the good news. All right, let's get the right one. If you look here, this means that it's almost all the way through here. And further observation, this right here is the actual nut. Now, I went to the store, thought I was all set because I got one with the right thread, and only to find out that this new one does not have any threads in it. So I don't know whether Ford has self-tapping screws or whether I'm going to have to get a tap. So I'm going to have to figure that out. Meanwhile, one other piece that I'm going to have to get off here is Ford has attached these lines here to this, which is a Torx screw. So we're going to try and get that off without busting anything. Okay, so I was able to actually pull that out to get that down. So I had to bend that straight so I could get it past, and then I was able to pull it down. Now we've got this wire which is connected here, and you're going to need either to pry him out with a screwdriver, or better yet, use the body clip tool like you should. So my suggestion on this would be to take pictures, so you have pictures exactly how this went across, because there's a lot of things here. So you're going to quickly notice that there's some gaps in this video. Reason for that is, well, it took quite a bit of work to get this down and leave this out. One of the things I'll note is take your time. I was very fortunate when this broke off, it snapped off right there. You're going to want to get yourself some penetrating oil, and you're going to want to soak this baby really good. You can come through this hole. I came through this hole here, this hole here from the bottom, and spray up in here and soak the inside. As you can see, they rust up pretty good. And I mean, this is only 3 years worth of, now my vehicle was used in upstate New York for a few years, so there was that too. Anyway, soak those good and go take yourself a break. Come back a couple hours later, soak them again, take your time getting them out, and you'll be good to go. Another thing to note is these guys, I bought an aftermarket one, and I paid about $300 for it instead of $400 new. But these nuts that are on here do not have threads, and I tried the good old cheap, like Harbor Freight $17 set, and wasted an afternoon of work. And then I ordered one tap, which was about $17, and this thing is angled, which was good because, you know, it was able to go into the hole and help me get it straight. And what took me an hour of trying to figure out a way to tap with that cheap set was a total of probably 15 minutes worth of work with this on all 4 of these. And that was taking your time, going in about a full turn when you feel it binding, backing off a quarter turn, going again, backing it off, backing it off. So I was able to do that without any issues. The other thing is with mine, because of how I crushed it, it actually broke these wires because, as I said, Ford cleverly put these to the outside, so it pinched there, and I lost some wires in the process. So I had to solder these on. I didn't have any luck going from store to store finding small enough tiny wires. You can see how tiny those wires are. So my wires are thicker, and yeah, I know this is ugly, don't hate me, but I was able to solder these together and confirm that that's working. I was going to order a harness, but it was $60, and when it comes down here, I realized I'm wondering if the one that I was going to get would terminate here, and that I'd have to do the soldering anyway, because my thought was, why waste all this time, put it all back together for saving $60 and only to find out that the wire's broken somewhere else. But I took my chances, and it turned out. So I'm actually waiting for Ford parts to deliver those big bolts. You can get some at like your local parts store, but they're going to be just about the same price for the size bolt that you need, and I'll look that up and tell you what that is, this size and thread patterns, but it's just about the same price. It does cost you about $10 for shipping, so there's that. Now my side thing is bent here. I actually straightened some of this out, but I'm going to take this down again and try and straighten this out more, and maybe I'll video doing that. Maybe that'll be helpful to somebody. All right, so this is our side piece that we're going to try and fix here. This was damaged as well. It's 3 T25 bolts to take it off, and then you have one adapter that you have to get off this proximity sensor. And so we're going to try and use the handy dandy heat gun to see whether we can get that dent out of there, or at least make it look a little bit better. I'm going to try and do this in real time so you get an idea on how long it takes a rookie. Be able to get this to look good from 20 feet away at 45 miles an hour. She just is rippled. She wants to ripple. Oh, I don't know. It's a little bit better. So your other option is to spend the 50 bucks and get a replacement, which I may do, but this at least hopefully kicks the can down the road a little bit. I got this broken here too, so I don't know how well that's going to go. But we'll see. Alrighty, hopefully this makes sense from this angle. So this is our outer wire, so we need to come around here.
Ooh, outer
and then
wire.
this is the one that's hooked up to the bumper. It's still hooked up to the bumper cover, I mean. Alright, so all along here are all of these holes, which I'm going to start from this side, just for grins, and start snapping these in from this side here. Yeah. And we'll bring this bumper cover down into place. Alright? So now, it's got to go underneath there, and then the bottom's got to go underneath, and then I got to bring it over here and snap it in over here. It goes over the side cover, and it lines up just like that. Alright. So that goes. But yeah, so we still got a little bit of a lump here, which I can maybe at some point apply heat to. So now we're going to take all these guys. Alright. These are T25 torque bolts. I got to save 3 of them for the side piece. But the rest of these are going to go in, like you see that little,
Yeah.
So you can take that with your fingers and try and turn that in. Alright, working from the center, out. Alright, so now this is our side piece, which we tried to straighten. We'll just have to save up and buy a new one, make her pretty. I mean, this is just for pretty anyway. Alright, so get those screws in there. This went behind there. So the screws all the way along underneath. Now this is all bent up still, which is giving a problem here. This has to hook around the light. The light has a hook on the bottom there. And then we've got this problem here. And then this should, with a body clip in there and hold this in. Now, the other problem that we have is, what in the world do we do with all this wire? So I'm going to have to figure out where and how that was supposed to hook up. See whether I can get that hooked up. So here's what I figured out. This guy here, actually on the bumper here, you see there, it's got a small hole there and then it's got a big hole. What's supposed to happen is there's supposed to be a body clip here, which is supposed to clip on there. Well, that's broke off as part of the accident. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to hook that up there, and then I'm going to zip tie it on there. Okay, so there we are. It's all zip tied on there, and the wires stay up. Sort of neat. I don't know, I may zip tie that too, just to try and hold this up so it's not playing peekaboo underneath the bumper at all. So here's the end result of my bumper repair. One of the things I did do is I left this bumper on here. It's got a little bit of a lip to it, and some scratches, but not bad. And this is the repair where I used the heat gun to straighten that out. So there's where we are. We've got a little bit of a lip here. We've got this here. All in all, not too bad. I decided to leave this on. The reason being is everyone that I found, they didn't have these drilled out. So I would have to remove my parking sensors. There's 4 of them across there, and re-drill holes in there and fit those things back in there. And being it was over $100 for this piece of plastic, I decided not to do it. I will probably, this piece over here I've found for around $45, I think. So I may replace that at some point. And then under here, what I did is I was able to take this wire harness here and I zip tied it up to here, nice and neat, so that doesn't hang down anymore. So that turned out good. So all in all, what did I learn? First thing I learned is with these bolts back here, use PB Blaster and take your time and leave them. Leave them to soak, or they will snap, and just take your time on that. The other is, if you have any broken wires, make sure you find yourself a good solder that's 60/40 and lead in it, because I spent more time trying to get that solder to melt than I'm willing to admit. And the other thing is I got an aftermarket one of these. I don't know about the Ford ones, if you get them, if they're threaded or not. Probably not. If they're not threaded here, this is where you would actually have for a hitch, is buy yourself a good tap. Don't go for the Harbor Freight junk. Get yourself, and I think I spent $15 on a good one, and I went through that thing like butter. Took me probably all 4 holes, probably took me 10 minutes taking my time, or I spent about 2 hours fighting, trying to get the Harbor Freight one to actually like cut through there. So just spring for it. You'll save yourself a ton of time, a ton of money. I mean, yeah, if time is money, you'll save yourself money. But yeah, don't cheap out on the tap. Get yourself a good tap, and I'll see whether I can link the one that I got in the description. And the other thing is, I was able to get this bumper piece for about $275, maybe less, on eBay. Ford changes their part numbers constantly, because they'll have ones where they get it from like one supplier, and then they'll just change to another one, and they'll change their part number slightly. So I would suggest doing a lot of research. It makes it a little nerve-wracking to try and figure out which one to get, but you can save yourself a lot aftermarket. Just make sure you get the right one. So that's about it. She doesn't look too bad, and you can do it. So hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you can do it yourself instead of spending probably well over $1,000 to repair it.